of the United Nations, and I ask the Chief of Protocol to be good enough to escort the representatives of the Republic of Cyprus to their seats on the Assembly floor. And the United Kingdom recommending the Republic of Cyprus for admission to membership of the United Nations. Unless I hear any objection, is the Chairman of the Council of Ministers of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Chairman of the Council of Ministers of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Господин председатель, уважаемые делегаты, думаю, что каждый, кто поднимается на эту трибуну и окидывает взглядом зал, понимает, перед каким высоким и ответственным собранием он выступает. Нет в мире более ответственного собрания представителей государств, чем должно быть это. Недаром оно называется Генеральной Ассамблеей Организации Объединенных Наций. Мне нет нужды расшифровывать сейчас смысл названия этой организации.
Spell out the meaning of the name of that our organization bears. I would just like to stress two words out of several others.
Но вместо с тем, кто может сказать, что мир наш уже полностью и хорошо устроен, что в нем нет нужды и лишений. Стоит еще раз задуматься над тем,
It is worthwhile pondering once again over the fact that according to United Nations statistics, hundreds of millions of people on different continents are eking out a hungry and miserable existence. Our world is not free from the feeling of alarm for the future. It sees the danger inherent in the division into military groupings and in the ever-growing race of nuclear armaments. The great achievements of man's genius can be used to the benefit or to the detriment of mankind. Such is the difficult choice and problem that faces us. Every thinking individual. Esteemed delegates, we have embarked upon the consideration of these problems, the problems that today agitate all the nations. The possibilities of the United Nations have now broadened, and all the greater is the responsibility vested in the United Nations. I have already referred to the fact that the United Nations has been augmented by a large group of young independent African states. I am happy to have this opportunity, on behalf of the Soviet people, ardently, sincerely, and cordially to welcome the states recently granted United Nations membership.
No one can dispute the fact that the Soviet Union has never spared any effort to make international relations continue further to develop in this gratifying direction. However, the sinister forces who profit by maintaining international tension cling hard to their positions. The Soviet Union and other states. Moreover, the United States has promoted such violation of international law into a principle of deliberately pursued state policy. The aggressive incursion of an American plane into our country and all the subsequent actions of the United States government have shown the nations that they are dealing with the calculated policy of the United States government, which attempted to supplant international law with piracy and honest negotiations between sovereign equal states with perfidy. The whole world knows what a heavy blow this policy dealt to the cause of alleviating international tensions. What then is the United States trying to do, in fact, by sending its planes into the airspace of the USSR? Does it perhaps want to cause such an incident which would be followed by rocket talk? One plane, another plane, and, in actual fact, an incident of this sort is staged. Or is this perhaps for the time being only a policy of probing the strength of the other side? Be this as it may, but one thing is absolutely plain. The provocation mongers are seeking to create an atmosphere in which the nations would live in constant fear. If such an atmosphere satisfies the United States government, it can in no way satisfy the Soviet Union and the overwhelming majority of other states. We have always striven and will strive for the ending of lawlessness in international relations in all its manifestations. You are trying to help this. You are trying to create a version of communism, and the peoples of Africa will understand that only the communists are the only party which is the only expresser of the will of the peoples for freedom and for justice in their struggle for independence and freedom.
Expression of such an approach. One can only experience a feeling of gratification at the fact that the ideas propounded by us were unanimously approved by the United Nations and received wide support from the peoples of the whole world. Being guided by the resolution of the last session of the General Assembly, the Soviet Union, together with other states, took the most active part in the negotiations in the 10-Nation Committee on Disarmament and bent its efforts in it to elaborate a treaty on general and complete disarmament. Without waiting for an international agreement on the question of disarmament, the Soviet Union is implementing unilaterally a reduction of its armed forces by 1,200,000 men, that is by 1/3 of its armed forces, which is generally recognized to have contributed to improving the atmosphere for negotiations on disarmament. These changes, in our opinion, make the program of general and complete disarmament more concrete and even more realistic and practicable. The detailed elaboration of the agreement on general and complete disarmament is of course a complicated task, for the solution of which all the participants in the negotiations should exert much effort and labor. Various questions may arise in the course of this work, the solution of which would demand flexibility and the realistic appraisal of the international situation. Policy of peaceful coexistence presupposes a willingness to solve all outstanding issues without resort to force by means of negotiations and reasonable concessions. Everyone knows that during the years of the Cold War, such questions, in the main, did not find their solution, which in turn led to the creation of dangerous seabeds of tension in Europe, Asia, and in other parts of the world as well. The international knots, which with Germany has not so far been concluded. This is completely in the conscience of the governments of the Western powers, which, to speak without beating about the bush, have been sabotaging this problem in the course of many years. These governments have got into the habit of outright rejection of all the Soviet Union's proposals for a German peace treaty, while at the same time, they themselves, over the 15 post-war years that have not found one suitable occasion of coming forward with their own proposals in this respect. As a result of this, the situation in Europe remains unstable, fraught with the danger of acute conflicts. The absence of a peace treaty can gladden the hearts of, especially of the revanchist and militarist forces in West Germany. They are taking advantage of this so that step by step they may move forward toward the realization of their purposes, which are dangerous for the cause of peace. The line of the colonialists is opposing the legitimate government of the Congo and the Congolese people, is supporting the renegades who, under the guise of fighting for the independence of the Republic of the Congo, are in fact continuing the policy of the colonialists and are apparently getting remuneration from them for their treachery. What is to be done in this case? If this is the way in which the international armed forces will in practice be used, that is, to suppress the liberation movement, then, under such conditions, it will naturally be difficult to reach agreement on the creation of international armed forces. To renounce the system under which, in the period between General Assembly sessions and Security Council meetings, all the practical work is determined by the Secretary General alone. The executive body of the United Nations should reflect the